So awesome. And we're live for the interview with Michael Bashkin. Michael, welcome to the interview.
Thanks for having me on, Terrence. I appreciate it.
And I think it must be a little bit strange to be on the other side of the interview process.
It's true. Yes, I usually get to sit back and ask the tough questions.
Well, today it's my turn. So
All right.
let's get moving.
Hopefully I'm ready.
Thanks. Let's get straight into it. Maybe we can start right at the beginning, just to ask you how you got started with guitars.
Well, like a lot of guitar builders, I started playing guitar at a pretty young age, teenager, and was in various high school bands and things like that. Never really too serious or very accomplished guitar player, but just completely enamored with the instrument. And then when I was in graduate school, I bought my first nice guitar, and I had a repair person put a pickup in it, and he invited me into his shop. And I remember seeing guitars on the walls and on workbenches and tools, and just kind of a switch flipped in my brain that, wow, like this looks like the coolest thing anybody could ever do. So I just started reading books and buying VHS tapes and talking to anybody who would talk to me about it, and was fortunate enough to work in a local music store and start doing repairs, and that's kind of how I got into it.
Great, awesome. And I suppose being a fairly well-known builder, you probably have spoken about this, but maybe you could share with us a little bit about your build philosophy and maybe how it's sort of changed over time.
Sure. Boy, this could take a while. My build philosophy has changed a lot, but I'd say my current philosophy, as of 2022, and I'm sure it's will change again, is that I really like the voice of, or a certain aspect of the voice of vintage guitars, which is this kind of dry, woody punch, especially in the low end, and a lot of clarity with kind of a brassy front edge. But the high end, I actually like more of a contemporary tone with more information around the note, warmth, overtones, as people typically describe it. So what I'm trying to do in my guitars is kind of capture the vintage traditional tone in the low end and marry that into the contemporary tone in the mid and the high end. So acoustically, that's what I'm looking for. Aesthetically, I've always been more of a kind of a contemporary designer, not on the forefront or doing deconstructed guitars or anything like that. There's a lot of things about traditional lines that I like, especially in the classical guitar world, in terms of my purfling and binding schemes. I'm influenced by classical guitars. But in terms of some of the lines and the aesthetics, they're definitely a little bit more modern compared to, say, dreadnoughts or OMs. My guitars are definitely more curvy, and I've also done some things with asymmetric bridge designs early on, and have a capped X brace on the back of the guitar that you can see through the sound hole. So those are some of the things that, visually, that I like to do with my guitars. It's changed a bit over the years in that I'm probably getting, maybe as I get older, I get a little bit more conservative, and I'm trying to kind of say more with less in terms of the ornamentation on the guitars.
Great. And I remember the first guitar of yours that I had seen, and that was at the late Richard Glick's place. In fact, we were just sort of having a chit chat about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was with Poisonwood, I remember.
Yeah, black poisonwood. That was actually wood that I got when I was down in Belize doing some work. That was one of the boards I bought back, in addition to some Ziricote and some other woods, Hunter and rosewood. So
And I'm just wondering in terms of tone woods,
Hmm.
because you know, we've heard that you're trying to marry that kind of vintage low end with the contemporary high end. Sort of what tone woods do you favor to achieve that outcome?
Good question. I would say actually all of them. I really, I really like tried and true tone woods, mahogany, what I put things in the rosewood camp. Um, when woods get too lightweight or flimsy, I would tend to avoid those, or too heavy. But I think any tone wood, I can work with to get the desired sound that I want out of the guitar, and that's done through the thinning of the plates and the bracing, and I'm doing a lot more work with resonant frequencies these days. So I can get some standardization on my backs in terms of what frequency response I'm getting out of them. So I'm not so focused on a specific tone wood is good for, the sound that I want. It's really, I kind of follow the market and what my customers want. I mean, in general, I would say that like, uh, you know, um, more neutral woods or woods that have are lower density, tend to add less information to the notes, and uh, whereas denser woods, have a higher return of energy, and they're going to actually add tone to the guitar. But to me, really, it's all about the top and how you support it. So,
Are there any woods you particularly don't like? Because you mentioned floppy woods.
oh yeah, I'm not a huge fan of some of the like super highly figured Sapiles. Um, and maybe just because at the time that I was building with it, and this was a long time ago, I didn't necessarily know, how to treat it correctly. I think I would brace it differently now. But in general, no secrets here. I like, quarter sawn material whenever possible. Um, and I like woods that have a decent tap tone or return of energy, and have a good stability to them as well. So there's some woods that I like, but if you get into flat sawn areas, they're just they have a lot of movement that I wouldn't want to put into a guitar.
And do you think, to a certain extent, that might be sort of overcome with construction techniques? Because you mentioned you might brace like highly figured sapele differently now compared to
Yeah,
a couple of years
I
ago.
think you can overcome it to a certain degree, and maybe it's overcome just by knowing, when to when it's okay to use a set in a guitar, and when you're really kind of taking your chances and pushing your luck. So, but most of the woods that I'm building with, I've had around for years, in some case, decades, more than 20 years. So I get to watch them for a while and see what they want to do. A lot of the woods that I'm building with now, I've been fortunate enough to uh, get from builders who are retiring or buy from other builders. And so they've had it for a long time. So, and it's very instructional to see what a piece of wood does in an unstickered state, essentially just to let it move if it wants to move, and, not restricted. And that'll be very informative to me about what it wants to do in a guitar.
I can I can imagine. And I suppose one of the things that uh, that is a bit worrying is really, I think, suddenly uh, it just appears that a lot of the woods that are available now tend to be of lesser quality for the most part, and or like suddenly the price has just jumped.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, or it's actually both. You're paying,
Yeah.
the quality is down and the price is very expensive.
Mhm.
I don't think that's going to change, and I think that's just a reflection of Basically, the long history of harvesting tropical tone woods, for centuries, certainly decades, and the preferential harvesting of large old growth timber, and now we're into second or third growth plantation trees. And it doesn't always necessarily mean that the quality is lower, but in many cases, what a lot of people in guitars are used to seeing, tight, straight grain. That's not what is coming off the market these days, at least in the stuff that's cut new.
I can imagine. And for some reason, I've never. Well, I know why, but um, a lot of people for some reason don't really rate Indian rosewood very highly.
Hmm.
Um, do you find that as well?
Well, it's interesting. I don't personally. I think it's a beautiful wood. I mean, I love the dark chocolatey color, and it's still fairly reasonable to expect, well courtesan sets. The problem with it is really more of I think, a problem of perception in the market, in that, for a very long time, it was just, rosewood on a guitar. It was the standard rosewood. It was kind of like the Model T of tone woods.
Hmm.
And so there was really no, special cachet about it. There was nothing unique about it. And so I think it just, um, the perception is that it's just a standard, tone wood for lesser quality guitars that you wouldn't find on high-end custom work. I think that perception will change, in the future, as these woods become more rare and more expensive. And then, now how people fall over themselves to put, flats on Brazilian rosewood on a guitar, maybe the future of Indian rosewood. It'll take a while, but it may get there.
Thank you. And I do see a couple of guitars hanging around. Would you
Yeah, of
be
course.
would you be willing to share some of them with us?
Sure, sure. I've got uh, one old one that's on the wall, and one that I finished last year, and then one that doesn't have any strings on it. But should I bring them over
Yeah,
to the camera?
yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. Just be careful.
Oh, all right. You got it.
You know.
Uh, so this is a guitar made out of the tree mahogany,
Uh-huh,
and this is my JM model with a Swiss spruce top,
uh-huh.
and um, it's got some kind of Art Deco inlays on the headstock,
Oh, very nice.
uh,
Yeah.
as well as the back of the headstock. I don't know how well that's coming through, and also a little treatment on the end graft too that ties into the aesthetics of the rest of the guitar. Brazilian rosewood bridge, arm bevel, and a Swiss spruce top.
Lovely.
And then this guy right here. Sorry, it's a little dusty. I didn't know we were going to be doing show and tell, but
That's
this is a
that's my fault. It's on me.
okay. This is a Madagascar rosewood JM guitar, and this one's in a 12 fret configuration. It's also a multi-scale. This one is 25 and 3/4 to 25 and a quarter, and it has a different style of rosette for me.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I finished this guitar last year. The customer's overseas, and we're just waiting for a good way to get this guitar to him. So that's why I still have it.
Mhm.
And then the final guitar, and this is one, actually, this is an old one. I made this guitar in 2008,
Oh,
and it's Brazilian rosewood. I haven't rubbed out the back yet. Um, the guitar had needed some restoration, so I stripped the body, resprayed it. And anyway, I'm still waiting for the lacquer to cure before it rubs out, which is why it's not shiny. This has an LS redwood top
mhm.
with an arm bevel. And yeah, that's about it. It's nice to see work that I did a while ago.
Mhm.
And, sometimes I'm like, all right, good job. And other times I'm like, ooh, I'm glad I've improved from there.
Fantastic.
And
And
then
mhm.
a guitar that I'm just getting ready to put together this week is uh, this JM model right here. This is Pernambuco.
Mm.
And this is actually the first time I've built with it. But I'm really impressed with it. This is a well courtesan set that has some beautiful flame to it.
Mhm.
And this one has an Ellis redwood top.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm excited to put this one together, and I have good feeling about this particular guitar. So
Awesome. That's great. And that's your, is that your, the symmetrical bridge design, right?
yes, this will be the symmetrical bridge design. Correct.
Right, right. Cool.
I could also show you this is the neck that's going on that Pernambuco
Hmm.
guitar,
Hmm.
and
Oh,
did
yeah.
one of my, I don't know, it looks like this is kind of getting distorted in the camera there, but I really like this headstock inlay. It's a design, a variation on a design I did quite a while ago.
Hmm.
But this one's a little bit more refined, and these little bits in here are pieces of the Pernambuco,
Hmm.
and you can't quite see it, but I'll do a reveal for you.
Ah, awesome.
So, but these are uh,
Oh,
a
yeah.
style of fret markers I've been doing for many years, and I don't know. I guess some people associate them with me, but that's a style of marker that is one piece, and it's on the edge of the fingerboard and then wraps over onto the face of the fingerboard. It's wrapped in a white veneer, and these are Pernambuco markers. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Great theme.
Anyway, stay tuned for this one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you very much for sharing.
Sure.
Uh, and I guess because we're coming maybe towards the end of our time, maybe I can ask, what's next? What's on the horizon for you?
Oh, well, I have some super secret um, projects that I could tell you about, but they won't be a secret anymore. But well, there's a lot of guitars in my future. Fortunately, I'm very blessed and grateful to have a full order list. So my standard acoustic guitars that I'll be, building just like the ones that I've shown you, and both a mix of dealer sales, guitars going to dealers, and private commissions. And I look forward to kind of continue to refine the designs, and as I said, try and say more with less. And it's a bit out of left field for me, as I've started a project with another guitar builder friend of mine, where we're working on a kind of totally new concept of an electric bass.
Oh, cool.
That yeah, so it's not what people would expect from me, but it's been really fun to
Oh,
work with another guitar builder, both on the design, and it's very different conceptually from an acoustic, and we're designing the entire guitar based on a CNC platform,
mhm.
so, which is also very very different for me. But we're excited about it, and hopefully this summer we'll have we have a prototype right now, but hopefully we'll have some models available this summer.
Cool. Well, I hope it's nothing like the Base 6 because my bank account can't handle any more
Okay,
guitars. I,
I'll give you a deal on one. So
well,
yeah,
the thing is that I don't play bass, but I
mhm,
play the Bass 6, which is kind of not really a bass, I guess. It's
gotcha.
yeah, because it's yeah, I don't know quite how to describe the Bass 6. I think most folks who are into guitars would probably have heard of one at some point in time.
Hmm.
But yeah, for sure. Well, thank you very much for sharing. We'll catch up soon
Sure.
and have a great day. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for having
Thanks,
me on.
Michael. Thanks.
Take care.